Daf Yomi, Tractate, Bava, Batra, page 164b, top of the page. Okay, it's not really a short daf, but hopefully we can make it in 15 minutes. V'halo, at top of the page is the words V'halo Eino Dome Ezmano Shalzeh Ezman Shalzeh. Pashut Malach Shana Monilo Shana Shtaim Monilo Shtaim Mekushar Malach Shana Monilo Shtaim Monilo Shalosh. But the date of this one, a tied document, is not the same as the date of that one, an ordinary document. In an ordinary document, when the king has reigned for 1 year, 1 year is counted for him. And when he has reigned for 2 years, 2 years are counted for him. By contrast, in a tied document, when the king has reigned for 1 year, 2 years are counted for him. And when he has reigned for 2 years, 3 years are counted for him. If a tied document is simply opened up and used as an ordinary document, then it will emerge that it is post-dated by a year. V'zimnin d'zayaf d'yazif minei zuze b'mekushar u'misramei le zuze bene u'parale ve'amar le havli ishtarai ve'amar le irchas li v'chasav le tavara. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi continues, and there are times this can be problematic, as in a case where the debtor borrows money from the creditor and the details of the loan are written in a tied document, and the debtor chances upon some money in the interim, meaning during the first year after the document was written, and he repays the creditor and says to him, "Give me back my promissory note, as I have just repaid you." And the creditor says to the debtor, "I lost the document and cannot give it to you." And in lieu of returning a promissory note, the creditor writes a receipt for the debtor as protection against a second collection. The Yehuda continues, and then, when the time for repayment written in the promissory note arrives, the creditor will make it into an ordinary document by undoing its stitches and opening it up, and he can then say to the debtor, "It is now that you borrowed this money from me as attested in this promissory note, and the receipt you have in your possession is for a previous debt, as its date precedes the date on my document." Kasavar in Kosun Shovar. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel holds that one does not write a receipt in such cases. If a creditor loses his promissory note, the debtor need not pay him at all, out of concern that the debt may one day be collected again when the promissory note is found. He is not required to pay the debt and accept only a receipt, which he will then have to guard permanently to protect himself against a second collection. Umi baki Rabbi b'mekushar v'hahu b'mekushar de'asa the coming to Rabbi v'amar Rabbi shtar nuchazeh v'amar lo zunin leRabbi kach minhaga shiluma zo malach shana moni lo shtaim moni lo shalosh. The Gemara asks, with regard to the previous discussion, and with Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, expert in the halachot of tied documents, was he an expert? But wasn't there a certain tied document that came before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi? And when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi saw the date, he said, "This is a post-dated document." And a sage named Zunin said to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, "Such is the custom of this nation. When the king has reigned for 1 year, 2 years are counted for him. And when he has reigned for 2 years, 3 years are counted for him." The document is therefore not post-dated. From this anecdote, it is clear that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi himself had not been familiar with this practice. Batra d'shame mizunin savare. The Gemara answers, after Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi heard it from Zunin, he accepted the explanation and held this way himself, and that is what prompted him to raise his objection. Ahu shtara dehaviksiv be bishnas ploini archan amar b'chanina yivdok hemasai amad archan be'archanuse. There was a certain document on which was written at its date, in the year of so-and-so, Archon, a title for a ruler, Archon, without stating any particular year of his reign. Rabbi Hanina said, let it be investigated when it was that this Archon rose to his position of Archon. In other words, find out the year he came to power. And the validity of the document is established from that year. Shana Rishona korin lo Archan, Shniya korin lo Digon. The Gemara suggests that perhaps the writer of the document was using an Aramaic or Hebrew term and intended to say that the reign of so-and-so had already extended for several years. Rav Hoshaya says such is the custom in this nation where the document was written. In the first year of the king's reign, they referred to him with the title of Archon. In the second year, they refer to him with the title Digon. Dilma abori abruhu v'hadar okimuhu. Omrav Yirmiyahu Archon Digon karule. The Gemara suggests, but perhaps the people deposed the ruler and then reinstated him. The document was written in the first year of his second reign. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, in that case, they would refer to him with the title of Archon Digon. Tanu Rabbanan. Hareni Nazir Heina Somchos Omer Heina Achas Digon Shnaim Trigon Shalosh Tetrigon Arba Pentigon Chamesh. Apropos these Greek terms, the Gemara cites two Braitot that mention them. The sages taught in Tosefta Nazir 1:2 that if one said, I am hereby Nazirite, Heina, or stated a similar expression with other comparable Greek terms, Sumchos said that his status depends on which term he used. If he used the word Heina, he is a Nazirite for one term of Naziriteship, meaning 30 days. If he said Digon, he is Nazirite for 2 terms of 30 days each. If he said Trigon, he is a Nazirite for 3 terms. Tetrigon for 4 terms. Pentigon for 5 terms. Tanu Rabbanan, Beit Agol, Digon, Trigon, Pentigon, Ena Metabim Benegaim, Tetrigon, Metabim Benegaim. The sages taught in another Braita in Tosefta Negaim 6:3, a round house, or one that is shaped like a digon, meaning it has 2 walls, one straight and one curved, or one that is shaped like a pterigon, meaning a triangle, or one that is shaped like a pentagon, does not become susceptible to the ritual impurity of leprous spots. If it is shaped like a tetragon, meaning quadrilateral, it becomes susceptible to the ritual impurity of leprous spots. A round house, 2 walls. Wow. Minahanimili. How do we know this? Ditanu Rabbanan Limala Omer Kir Kirot 2 Limate Omer Kir Kirot 2 Harekan Arba. The Gemara asks, from where do we know, where are these matters derived? The Gemara answers, it is as the sages taught in the Braita. The Torah states above, if the plague be in the walls of the house, Leviticus 14:37. The verse did not state a wall, but walls. indicating that the house in question has at least 2 walls, and where it states below if the plague has spread in the walls of the house, Leviticus 14:39, instead of stating a wall, the verse states walls, indicating another 2 walls. There are a total of 4 walls mentioned here, in order to indicate that a house can become impure through leprous spots only if it has 4 sides. The way of interpretation, it can be just the walls of the house being any of the walls. It doesn't have to be exactly 2 walls. But that's how they interpret it. Interesting. Hamekushar, Dasa Lekami Darabi, Veram Rabbi, in Zman Baze, Ve'ele, Ve'omerle, Rabbi Shimon Bar, Rabbi Lerebi, Shema ben Kasha Muvla, Plai V'chaze, Hadar Chaze, Zabe, Rabbi Bishus, Rabbi Bebishus, Amalei la vanaka savte, Rabbi Yehuda chayate kasve, Amalei kalach milashon hara hazeh. The Gemara relates there was a certain tied document that came before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, not realizing that it was a folded document, said, there is no date on this document, so it is not valid. Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, said to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, perhaps the date is hidden between its tied folds. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi opened it and saw the date was in fact between the tied folds. Afterwards, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi looked at his son disapprovingly, as he had held that one should not write a tied document. His son said to him, I did not write it. Rabbi Yehuda Hayata wrote it. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says to his son, turn away from uttering this kind of malicious speech. Zimnin havi Yasef Kameh Yekapasek Sidre B'Sefer Tehillim Amarabi Kama Miushar Kasav Zeh Amar Le Lavana Ketavte Yehuda Chayata Katve Amar Le Kalach Milashon Hara Zeh. Another time, Rabbi Shimon was sitting before his father and reciting a section of the book of Psalms. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said to him, how straight and neat is this writing in this book from which you are reading? Rabbi Shimon said to him, I did not write it. Rabbi Yehuda Hayata wrote it. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said to his son, turn away from uttering this kind of malicious speech. So why is that Lashon Hara? That's the Gemara asks right here. B'shlomo hasam nika Lashon Hara elacha my Lashon Hara ika mishum derabi dimi netan derabi achud derasafa oilam al yisaper adam betavas shel chavera shemitoch tavasay bal lidei derasay. The Gemara asks, granted here in the first episode there's malicious speech involved. Since Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was displeased with the writer of the document, but here in the second episode, what malicious speech was there? Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was complimenting the writer of the book of Psalms, not criticizing him. The Gemara answers, it is because of what Rav Dimi teaches. As Rav Dimi, the brother of Rav Sofer, teaches, a person should never speak the praises of another, as out of the praise spoken about him, someone may come to speak to his detriment. Amar Rav Amram, Amar Rav, Shalosh Averos, Ein Adam Nitzol Mehem B'chol Yom, Hirur Avera Ve'iyun Tefila Ve'lashon Hara, Lashon hara sal kadaitach. Rav Amram says that Rav says there are 3 sins from which a person is not spared each day. They are having sinful thoughts. Oh, it's always going to happen. Having sinful thoughts and committing sins concerning deliberation in prayer. That makes sense. And uttering malicious speech. The Gemara asks, can it enter your mind that a person cannot go through the day without uttering malicious speech? I would say Yom Kippur probably.